Hello. We're continuing our discussion of the lighting design process. Let's get started. In the last video, we talked about the design process in general and covered the project planning and programming phases. In this video, I'm going to cover the schematic design and design development phases. Schematic design. The purpose or goal of this phase is to analyze the programming results, all of that data that you just gathered in the last phase, and use them to develop your initial design concepts. So first we process the data. We analyze the results and, I just said this, develop the initial concepts and produce written reports and sketches. One powerful tool used in schematic design is called a charrette. A charrette is a fancy French word for a collaborative brainstorming design process. So basically, a bunch of designers sit together at the table and brainstorm and hash it out together and create ideas and sketches. I want to make sure that you know that this is kind of an iterative process. There's a feedback loop. So you're going to create some sketches, some ideas, and then you're going to go compare them to what you just analyzed, what your results were, whatever your criteria were that you just defined in the programming phase, and also as you process that programming data. So you're going to go back and forth a couple of times within this schematic design phase and continuing to develop your ideas. Here's an example of one way to analyze or process some of the data gathered in the programming phase. So over here we've got a floor plan, and a designer has come through and used some color coding to overlay the floor plan with a bunch of information: energy, shadow, safety, glare, daylight. So they're indicating some of their analysis using this sketch. So that's one of the products of the schematic design phase is some of these kind of sketch analysis tools. And here's another product of a schematic design phase. It's sketches and can't even say it, three-dimensional visualizations of the schematic design ideas. So once you have these great ideas, you need to communicate them between team members and to your clients. And so sketches are an important tool in the schematic design and also design development phases. So let's talk about the design development phase. This is where we really start to get some details down. The purpose of this phase is to work through the details and produce some documentation for the client's approval and to get some preliminary cost information. So let's talk about the documentation. You're going to produce drawings, specifications, and calculations. And these are all preliminary in the design development phase. In general, you are developing the requirements for the lighting design. Design development also often has a presentation part of it, and your textbook notes that lighting software is a good tool to create some of these presentations. Once you've nailed down some of the project details, you can and your client can use that information to get some preliminary costs of the lighting systems. And finally, once you've created this package of information, basically, it's very important to fully review it with your clients and get their approval, their sign off at this phase of the project. And here's an illustration from your textbook on some of that lighting software and what it could produce in the design development phase. And it says this is a simulation of an interior created by Radiance software. And so this is the type and level of information that you need to produce at this point in the project. So we just reviewed the schematic design and design development processes. And next week, in the next chapter in your textbook, we're going to continue and talk about contract documentation, contract administration, and finally, after you wrap up the project, evaluation of what you did. Thanks, everyone.